Biographer Lee Server extensively chronicles the captivating story of Ava Gardner in his book titled Love is Nothing. The biography portrays a life brimming with desire, affection, and adventurous escapades that occurred during the late hours. This includes her enduring involvement with the ever-inquisitive Howard Hughes, as well as brief romantic encounters with bullfighters, Robert Taylor, Mel Torme, David Niven, John F. Kennedy, Steve McQueen, an abusive George C. Scott, and an unsuccessful endeavor to entice Robert Stack into a foursome. This exhaustive biography of Gardner, published 16 years after her death, delicately conceded her continuing curiosity about the sexual demi-monde and records that through the years she paid visits to gay bars, red light zones and brothels all over the world. So let us immerse ourselves in this astonishing atmosphere of love and hate, fun and booze, godlike women and courageous men, quarrels and reconciliations which accompanied Ava Gardner throughout her entire life. Gardner was pursuing a secretarial career when her photographer brother-in-law took and forwarded her pictures to Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. With her mesmerizing appearance, characterized by lustrous dark hair and captivating green eyes, Gardner's photos successfully persuaded the studio to grant her a screen test. Consequently, this opportunity resulted in her securing a 7-year contract with MGM in 1941, at the age of 18, with a weekly salary of $50. On her first day at MGM, she encountered Mickey Rooney, the esteemed young star of the studio. Her initial glimpse of him presented an unconventional sight. Rooney donning a sequined bra and skirt, an extravagant turban adorned with fruits, heavily rouged cheeks, vibrant red lipstick on his lips, and elevated platform heels. Rooney, completely captivated by Ava's beauty, began passionately pursuing her. Abiding by her North Carolina upbringing, which emphasized preserving her virginity until marriage, Gardner and Rooney tied the knot in 1942, following MGM's permission.
Ava and I would like to thank everybody for their many good wishes, and especially our boss, Mr. Louis B. Mayer. Thank you very much.
However, their union faltered merely a year later due to Gardner's allegations of Rooney's infidelity. With the end of her first marriage, the down-to-earth Gardner's reputation for drinking, smoking and partying grew. She also became close with Playboy Howard Hughes, who offered her any sum she could name, an Aladdin's cave of fabulous jewelry and movie stardom if she would marry him. Although Gardner refused to sleep with Hughes, she remained an object of fascination for the reclusive man for more than 20 years. That lightning bolt moment occurred when she was taken to see a Broadway musical starring 23-year-old Betty Grable, who was soon to become the pin-up queen of World War II. Ava couldn't take her eyes off this gorgeous creature and she began to realize, with some embarrassment, that she found her physically attractive. Years later, Ava Gardner attempted to confide in Betty about the impact she had on her when she was 17. Betty Grable simply rolled her eyes and burst into laughter. That marked Ava's initial attraction towards women, but certainly not her last. Ava's second marriage in 1945, to bandleader Artie Shaw, proved to be even more calamitous than her first. At 34 years old, Shaw, who had previously ended relationships with Betty Grable and teenage Judy Garland, had already been married 4 times before, including to Lana Turner. This time he wasn't "ready for marriage" once again, so Artie and Ava secretly moved together, the fact that could have destroyed Ava's career until in 1945 they tied the knot. Artie Shaw had a sadistic Svengali complex, and soon he began demeaning Gardner in the presence of their acquaintances. She felt dominated and intellectually intimidated by her husband. There's a story that Artie caught her reading the book Forever Amber, which was a popular bestseller at the time. However, he wanted her to read only classic literature, so he threw Forever Amber across the room. The ironic twist in this situation is that after divorcing Ava, Artie went on to marry the writer of Forever Amber. It was then that Ava began to drink and have therapy. In 1946, after Shaw left her following just a year of marriage, she went to stay with an agent, Minna Wallace, who made no secret of her admiration for Ava. During an interview, Gardner candidly acknowledged that Minna had an intense infatuation with her. By then, Ava was a rising star. It was a role as the seductress who double-crosses Burt Lancaster in The Killers that got her noticed, followed by a role as Clark Gable's old flame in The Hucksters. The legendary love story between Gardner and her paramour Frank Sinatra commenced dramatically. According to Server, during the autumn of 1949, the already married and heavily intoxicated Sinatra managed to persuade an equally inebriated Gardner to leave a Palm Springs party hosted by studio executive Darryl Zanuck. They recklessly raced through the night until they arrived in the serene town of Indio. Following a haphazard session of passionate kissing, Sinatra retrieved 2 guns and proceeded to shoot out streetlights. Intrigued by the excitement, Ava enthusiastically joined in and fired a shot, shattering a window of a hardware store. Their escapade came to an end when they were apprehended by armed police officers and taken to the station, only to be discreetly released after the studio intervened with monetary compensation. Their relationship was filled with such intense passion that on Valentine's Day 1950, Sinatra's wife of 12 years, Nancy, publicly declared, "My married life with Frank has become incredibly unhappy and almost unbearable. As a result, we have decided to separate." This announcement triggered a significant backlash from Sinatra's fans, and soon he found himself without any film or recording contracts. Meanwhile, Ava sought solace by flying to London to embark on a film project. It was within the lobby of Claridge's hotel that she met the next beauty to figure in her life. The renowned sex symbol of British cinema, Christine Norden, was married 5 times but openly acknowledged her bisexuality. Ava said, "Christine was an incredibly attractive woman. We had an intimate encounter and subsequently flew to Paris to visit a lesbian nightclub." Despite this dalliance, Ava's feelings for Sinatra remained unaffected, and they tied the knot in 1951. However, their relationship soon became tumultuous. They engaged in heated arguments, often fueled by alcohol. Ava was now heavily drinking. Sinatra made several suicide attempts, some of which were fabricated. On one occasion, Sinatra called to declare his intention to end his life and fired a shot into a pillow, leaving Gardner deeply distraught. It is well known that during that period, Ava had romantic connections with Lana Turner. This even sparked several unpleasant incidents between Gardner and Sinatra. Once, Sinatra abruptly entered their Palm Springs residence and discovered Ava and Lana both without tops. Another actress hastily jumped out of a window into the bushes. What ultimately contributed to the demise of their marriage was likely Ava's choice to terminate her pregnancy. After filming Magambo and receiving her first and only Oscar nomination, Ava grew concerned about her career and deemed it an unfavorable time to have a child. She made the independent decision to travel to London and make an abortion. When Sinatra learned about the abortion, he was furious. Their marriage was already unstable, as they spent extended periods apart due to work commitments, fostering mutual mistrust and jealousy. Ava and Frank publicly declared their separation in 1953, and the divorce was ultimately concluded in 1957. However, the ties between them were never entirely severed. In 1955, feeling tired of Hollywood and already separated from Sinatra, Gardner relocated to Spain. It was there that her friendship with the novelist Ernest Hemingway introduced her to the world of bullfighting, turning her into an aficionada of the bullring, and it was Hemingway who introduced Ava to the matador Luis Miguel Dominguez, with whom she later engaged in a passionate relationship. Miguel was captivated by Ava and expressed a desire to marry her after just a month together. However, Gardner was already moving towards a new affair. In the Italian epic film, The Bible, directed by John Huston, 42-year-old Ava was paired with actor George Scott. During the production, their professional relationship turned into a romantic one. However, the passions soon escalated into violence. George struck her so forcefully that he broke her shoulder and caused injuries to her ribs in the back. Nevertheless, this affair also had an expiration date, and the only constant person in Ava's life remained Hemingway, with whom she shared not only fame but also a connection to numerous vices that both were drawn to. Ava lost her great friend on July 2, 1961, when the famous writer committed suicide. Tired of wandering, the actress moved to London in 1968. She occasionally made films, but never managed to regain her former glory. She smoked heavily and as a result developed emphysema as well as an immune system disorder. After 2 strokes in 1986 that left her partially paralyzed, Ava Gardner died of pneumonia on January 25, 1990, at the age of 67. When the news arrived that Ava had died, one of Sinatra's daughters found her father on the floor, lost in tears and helplessness. At the funeral of the actress, a black limousine was parked behind the column of 500 people who attended that day. No one got out of the car. It is believed to have actually been Frank Sinatra. The bouquet at Ava's grave had a simple message: "With love, Francis."